Welcome back to the show. My book, Digital Reset, Driving Marketing and Customer Acquisition Beyond Big Tech, is celebrating its first anniversary this month. I do not plan to spend this episode telling you how great the book is or why you should run out right now and pick up a copy, though I'd be thrilled if you did. Instead, I want to spend our time together today asking, was the thesis right? Does the book's central idea hold up, given how quickly customers are adopting AI? And how did any changes that we've seen over the last year shape what you should do next? I'm not going to make you wait until after the break for the answer to the first one. The answer is yes. The thesis, the central idea at the core of the book, remains true. In fact, as AI becomes a bigger part of our lives, of our customers' lives, the central idea becomes even more true and more important for your business. So, yay, well done me, I guess. Okay, in all seriousness, while the thesis and the book as a whole definitely holds up a year after publication, that doesn't mean there aren't some nuances and points of emphasis that we need to discuss. There are. And that's what I'm talking about here today on the show. In this episode, I'm going to break down what Digital Reset got right, what surprised me along the way, and what you should do right now to put those lessons to work for you, your brand, and your business. I also have a special gift for readers and listeners at the end of the episode. If you hang with me for a few minutes, I'll let you know what it is and how you can get your gift. This is episode 494 of the Digital Reset Podcast. I'm Tim Peter. Today we're looking at 1 year of Digital Reset, driving marketing and customer acquisition beyond big tech. Let's dive in. Writing a book about anything related to digital has one massive challenge. The digital ecosystem moves fast, like crazy fast. I started my first draft of the book before ChatGPT dropped. You can imagine that could have killed the book before I even get started. Instead, what it did was remind me to bet on what won't change, the ideas and the concepts that work no matter what big tech or any aspiring members of that club do to get between you and your customers. My bet was that owning your customer relationships, building a brand worth asking for by name, focusing on content and customer experience to build those relationships with your customers, and being responsible stewards of customer data as you put it to work are critical to reducing your dependency on big tech. And I bet that reducing your dependency, that dependency, would matter more over time, not less. So how'd that work out? Well, I'd say pretty well, actually. We've seen a number of examples over the past year that illustrate why those continue to make sense. So first, content got cheap, but your voice became priceless. As I mentioned in the book and in a bunch of recent episodes, AI has driven the cost of creating content to zero. The book argued that content has never been expensive, but that content that doesn't convert is. What has become even more important is that the AI age is not only further driving down the cost of making content, it's making developing your own distinctive, unique, and most importantly, authentic voice priceless. Your customers are drowning in a deluge of passable, but kind of average, bland, boring, blah, AI-created commodity content. They tolerate it most of the time, but they don't care about it. They don't seek it out, and they don't give it any more time or attention than, well, frankly, the amount of time it took AI to spit that content out. That seems fair, if you ask me. In some cases, we have seen that your customers actively hate AI-generated content. And increasingly, they hate the companies that use AI, whether it's for content creation or just about anything else. About half of customers feel that way. What customers do want is content that speaks to them and their needs, that tells them something genuinely insightful, interesting, new, entertaining. They want to hear from people they trust. That's why businesses that have invested in a clear point of view, that demonstrate their values, that share data and insights they've gained from original research and direct experience, and that do all of this with a trustworthy, original, human voice, are finding that their content stands out more today than it did a year ago. So yeah, content is still king, with one small caveat that I will come back to in just a couple of moments. Second, great customer experiences matter even more than they did. I have long argued that nothing will build your brand more than great customer experiences. Your customers are your business's secret sales force. They share their favorite experiences, and even more so, their truly terrible experiences with their friends and family and fans and followers on social media. As I said in the book, your brand is only as good as its last 5 reviews. I've long told stories about how the single most important first impression guests get when they check into a hotel is what their room smells like. If you were to walk into a room and think it smells pleasant, or at least unnoticeable, you're more likely to return to that hotel. By contrast, if you walk into a room and it smells, well, less than okay, if not downright funky, you're probably not ever coming back. In fact, if it smells bad enough, you're not even going to complete your stay at that hotel that trip. I mean, really. If you're like me, you're going to head back to the lobby and either ask for a different room or just book a different hotel in the elevator on your way out the door. What I didn't know at the time when I wrote the book, what I couldn't have known, is how much AI would turn to social media and reviews to validate the content you create and share on your own channels, your business's hub. I couldn't have known how much AI would turn to social media to learn what other people think of that content. The result of that is that AI inclusion is inherited from the work you've done all along. This is hugely, massively, crazily important to your business. Focusing on great customer experiences might be the single most important work you can do in the age of AI. Because when customers have a great experience, they might tell a few friends. They might post a review on social media or on a ratings and review site. They might share photos or videos that tell your brand story. But what their behavior absolutely does is teach their go-to AI which brands they prefer. When we enter a world where AI assistants and agents do the work for your customers, those assistants and agents will favor the brands their users like best. If you're not one of their favorites today, it will be even harder to become one of their favorites later, because their AI assistants and agents may never recommend you in the first place. So, yeah, customer experience is queen, for sure. And the queen's rule is even more powerful than before. The third big lesson that holds true is that gatekeepers still gonna gate. I am not gonna spend much time on this one. You've noticed that Google and Amazon and Meta and Apple and Microsoft remain the biggest players in the game, and that the cost of using them to reach your customers continues to rise. Sure, ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity are angling for their turn at bat. They want to get in the game, and they are making headway there. You've also likely noticed that ChatGPT has introduced ads on its platform. So, for that matter, has Perplexity. Showing up organically in their answers is getting more challenging over time. They're also paying more to the gatekeepers we've known for a long time, to Google and Amazon and Microsoft, for things like processing and partnerships. Funny. It's almost like all of these companies are following a playbook that we've seen again and again and again. Oh wait, that's right. They are. I told you this wouldn't be a victory lap, so I'm going to leave this point right here. I also feel obligated to say that this reality was entirely predictable, and we should expect more of this over the coming months and years. Gatekeepers gonna gate. It's what they do. Now, what surprised me, and this is big because there was at least one thing that surprised me over the last year, and it's related to content. I told you before there'd be a caveat. This is the caveat. While I talked about the importance of content distribution in the book, it really was focused on getting content you create onto spokes like search and social media and such. And while I talked about getting your customers to participate in creating content as your secret sales force with ratings and reviews, I did not foresee how big a role user-generated content would play in convincing AIs which brands to surface and show their users. I've talked about AI as a concierge, not a card catalog, in recent months. AIs don't just look up an answer when they're asked questions. They know the answer. They've learned the right answer from reading every piece of content that they can find about your brand and your business. That, of course, means that creating great customer experiences is more important than ever, as I've already mentioned. It also means that your content has almost no value in the mind of AI concierges if other folks aren't talking about that content, if they aren't citing that content, if they aren't sharing it with their friends and family and fans and followers. The content just is sitting there. It's a lump. Right? I took it for granted that links weren't as powerful as they once were. We know that AI is learning the value of content in its own right. That's absolutely true. What I missed was how powerful other people talking about your content, whether they linked to it or not, would be, how large a role that would play. The book talks about creating great content. That's still true, still valuable. But it could talk more about building authority, about building content that is worth other people talking about. Crafting one genuinely original, unique, insightful, expert-authored piece of content with a distinctive voice will do so much more to generate interest, citations, and, crucially, AI visibility than 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 moderately competent but meh blog posts ever will. As I said in an episode of this show not that long ago, post more content is not the strategy. AI isn't counting the number of pieces of content on your site. It's weighting them by the degree to which independent, verifiable sources confirm what your content says. Write less. Make it more citable. Make it more original. Make it genuinely worth citing. I guarantee that emphasis will be in any future episodes of the book, for sure. I've talked about what's held up and what's surprised me over the last year since the book dropped. The real question is what you should do differently and how soon you should do that. To answer the question, you have to ask some other questions. First, ask what percentage of your content could only come from you. You've got great data. You've got great stories about your customers, your guests, your clients. You've got your own distinctive point of view about what has happened, what is happening, and what you think will happen. You should be sharing those. If less than 50% of your content could only come from you, you're focused far too heavily on commodity content and not near enough on building a brand voice worth listening to. You cannot win with commodity content. Why would you even try? Second, ask what message your AI use is sending to customers right now. It is abundantly clear that somewhere between a quarter and a half of customers actively hate AI usage by the companies they work with. Over time, I'm going to suspect they're going to shift that hate from AI directly to your brand and business. I don't even think that's that much of a prediction. I think that's happening right now. This isn't about whether or not you use AI. It's about the message you send about how and why you use it. It's about whether that use benefits your customers, your community, and the world at large. Are you using AI to make better, safer, more useful products, services, and experiences for your customers? Or are you using it simply to slash costs and churn out a whole big load of AI slop? Your customers can tell the difference. And then they'll tell you what they think about it, either by saying really gnarly stuff about you on social media, or by no longer choosing you at all. Third, what does AI say about your brand when people ask about you? This is by far the easiest thing for you to do right now. Pick an AI tool of your choice. Then ask it what it knows about your brand. Whatever it gets right will demonstrate where your efforts right now are paying off. The information it gets wrong is a sign of where you've got work to do. This doesn't require you to conduct a big formal audit or hire a consultant to help you. Take a few minutes, though, and you'll have a quick sense of where you need to get started now. One quick little carve-out on this, a little caveat I would say, is that AI tools increasingly personalize their answers. So you might want to try doing this using a temporary or incognito chat just to make sure it's giving the most common answer to you. In either case, though, it is an enlightening and really effective exercise to see what AI knows about you. One last point before I wrap up this episode that I have to make is to say a deep and heartfelt thank you to all of the folks who bought the book, who listened to the podcast, or who work with us at TPA. I want to say thank you to everyone who shared their experiences on LinkedIn or in email or on texts. I genuinely appreciate all your support. You all made the book happen. You make this podcast happen. You make the business work. I would not be able to do any of this without your support. And on behalf of the team, I just want to say thank you very, very much. This anniversary belongs to you as much as it does to me. I mentioned at the top of the show that I've got a gift for readers of the book or anyone else who's interested. I'm giving away signed book plates and bookmarks to anyone who's purchased a copy of the book. There's a link in the show notes for you to sign up and provide your details to receive a free signed book plate for your copy of Digital Reset and a Digital Reset bookmark too. Just sign up in May of this year and we'll get those out to folks throughout the month. There's a place for you to opt into other communication, but we're only using this data to send the book plate and bookmark, and then we're going to purge it from our database. There are no long-term obligations. This is just a pure thank you from me to you. It would also mean the world to me if you joined in the celebration. Feel free to post a picture of yourself with your copy of the book and tag me on LinkedIn or Blue Sky. And please share your favorite insight or takeaway. I would love to hear what worked for you in the book. It means so very much to me. As always, if you know someone who would benefit from this episode, do me a favor and share it with them. I'd very much appreciate that, and I'd like to think that they would too. If you're a marketing leader in hospitality or travel or services or anywhere else that big tech has its hand in your pocket, and you want to talk through how to bypass big tech more effectively, I'd love to talk. My contact info is at timpeter.com. All that said, thanks again for listening. I genuinely appreciate your support every week. Until next time, please be well, be safe, and be excellent to each other. I'll see you soon.